Hello, welcome to the Mature Topics Podcast, the podcast that never ends. Tonight we have a very special show. We have a special guest in the house, and like we do each and every week, we'll definitely have an open panel discussion as well. So, welcome to the podcast. The Mature Topics Podcast is a show where we have mature conversations, much needed conversations, conversations that's typically not had in the community, right? We typically bring on experts or even advocates to talk about different topics, right? Now, if you do want to join the open panel, there's some ground rules before you come on. The first thing you have to make sure that you have a nice camera if you're going to utilize your camera, and also you must have a clear mic. Two ground rules. We've had some episodes where people's audios wasn't too clear, and it was kind of difficult to edit the footage, but definitely you're welcome. The link will be in the description of the video. um Another thing too, to help this show grow, definitely feel free to show your support. We do accept Cash App donations and PayPal donations. The Cash App is on the bottom right part of the screen. $ Koron Pierre. We also have an Amazon affiliate link, a link as well, so you can feel free to click that. So yeah. Oh, salute to the Mature Topics Facebook group. If you're not a member of the Facebook group, definitely click the link in the description to become a member. Is the group is growing. Each and every day we have interesting topics, and sometimes we actually, pick a topic from group conversations, and we'll go from there. So now I'd like to introduce our executive producer. Hey, Launch, you there?
Hey there.
How's it going, Launch?
Going well, going well. I'm really
So
excited about this show tonight.
yeah, so tonight is definitely going to be a powerful show. We have a special guest in the building. We have Rose Jones, and she's a reflection coach, and she's also a domestic violence survivor. She's going to be talking to us tonight about domestic violence and how to help people cope with the going through the abuse and overcoming it. She has a very um, powerful story, how she was able to make change, and I think it will be an inspiration to you all. So you're in the right place tonight. We're going to have a powerful conversation.
I'm excited.
Right. So, let's see. Let's see who's in the comments. We got some people in the building. Oh, salute to Don. Hey, Don, how's it going? I hope all is well with you. Let me just double check. I want to make sure everything is going good in the description. Make sure the link is there. So the link will be added right now to those in the in the chat. You'll be able to get on. Let me put the StreamYard in there 2 seconds, and we'll get ready to start. But how was your day, Lunch?
My day was pretty good, you know. Relaxing at this point. Can't wait to get into the nitty gritty of the show. I see Sherry is with us too. Hey, Sherry.
Salute to Sherry, Neek, and all of the loyal panelists that we have each and every week. Salute to you
Oh, Dawn
guys.
says my daughter Rose. Wow, this is powerful. Okay, awesome.
Excellent. So the link to join the panel is definitely in the comments section, and we're gonna get this thing started. So first, I like to give context each and every week. You know how I get down. I like to let people know exactly what to expect with the conversation, right? So I do want to read something on domestic violence. It's something that definitely has been around a long time, something that plagues us to this day. And, you'll be surprised. Like people, I'm pretty sure there's people who, checked out some of the promotion for this show. They're like, oh, I don't want to see that show. The domestic violence is not my issue, right? It's not my area of concern. But the truth is, more than likely it will impact someone that you know. You probably know someone who, whether or not they're out in the open, or it's something that's a secret, someone in your life is going through this. So let me share my screen right quick so we can know what we're talking about. Then we're going to bring our special guest in the building. So Let's get this share screen. Pow. Okay, here we go. So domestic violence, right? Domestic violence is violence or abuse that occurs in a domestic setting, such as a marriage or cohabitation. Domestic violence is often used as a synonym for intimate partner violence, which is committed by one people in an intimate relationship against another person. And this could take place in the relationship between former spouses or partners. In its broader sense, domestic violence involves violent crimes against children, parents, or the elderly. So it doesn't even have to just be a romantic relationship. It's any type of violence that occurs in the house, right? So it can assume multiple forms, including physical, verbal, emotional, economic, religious, reproductive, or sexual abuse. It can range from subtle coercive forms to marital, the R word. I don't want to say that because of the YouTube algorithm, and other violent physical abuse, such as choking, beating, etc. Right? Um, and domestic crimes include stoning, bride burning. Wow, look at all this stuff. And I just wanted to read this to let people know that these things are going on in our society to this day, but it's often taboo. Um, there's a lyric in the song from one of my favorite artists, Tupac. He goes, they gave my homie 90 days for domestic violence. I try to picture myself in his position, but remain silent. And that line always registered with me, like that remain silent part. Like people are suffering, and some people even know about it, but they just say, "Oh, that's not my business."
Yes.
So without any further ado, we're gonna bring on Rose. I'm pretty sure she has some things she wanted to share. Oh, another thing I wanted to share before I bring Rose on. One last thing I wanted to share was if you are going through domestic violence, one of the things you can do is you can go to, sorry about that, that's my notes. You can go to this hotline here, right? They got a hotline, okay? And this is the number, this is the website, the hotline.org. And if you know anyone that's going through this, you can share this resource with them. This is a powerful resource, and you can also call this resource if you are going through this, right? And it's a powerful resource, 24/7 calls, and they're doing great things there. I just wanted to share that, and now we can get into it. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our esteemed guest, Miss Rose Jones. How's it going, Rose?
I'm
Hey
doing
there,
good today.
Rose.
Hello, I'm doing good today.
Fantastic, fantastic. So it's an honor to have you on the panel. We appreciate people who, whether or not they're experts, whether or not they're advocates, people who have experience in the topic that we're talking about. We want to help bring as much insight and knowledge from the people who are the most qualified to speak on certain subjects. And when I reached out to you and asked you to share your story, you had a very, very powerful story. I'm not sure if you want to get into it. You were saying that you basically have been uh, a part of domestic violence, unfortunately, since the beginning. Can you talk a little bit about um, your initial involvement into domestic violence, if you don't
My
mind
dad,
sharing?
yeah, my first initial introduction to domestic violence was my father abusing my mother. I grew up in a household of domestic violence. My dad was very violent towards my mom, and that became a normal situation for me. So when it was time for me to develop my concept of love, I associated domestic violence with that concept of love. So if a person wasn't hitting me, yelling at me, or treating me a certain type of way, it was not a display of love that I knew. And with being a history of my whole family, my aunts, my uncles were abusers, and all my aunts and my grandmother was getting abused. So in my raising, I never had an example of a healthy relationship. No one around me ever reflected what a healthy relationship was supposed to look like. So to me, domestic violence was my version of a healthy relationship.
Wow.
Oh,
And then of course when you've gotten older, do you feel as though being that you were brought up in a situation like that, it influenced you in your relationships?
Definitely, because I didn't know how to. With that domestic violence, again, that means that my mom wasn't able to display the type of love that I needed towards me. So I had gaps in the way I loved myself. And my father wasn't the example for me to, your father is the example that you follow. You fall
Right.
in love with your father. The first person you fall in love is your father. The first woman you fall in love with is your mother. So whatever example they give you is the example that you're going to follow, even if your father is absent. That absence is still the love that you fall in love with. So you usually follow someone that is very absent in the way they present themselves in a relationship. So with my father being abusive, that was the love that I was seeking unconsciously. Like I didn't like, oh, I'm gonna go out here and find a guy that's gonna beat me and stuff like that. It was just like patterns that you create inside of you that you really don't know because it's unconscious in the back of your head. So you're just following a pattern that was already created and lined out for you from the way you was raised.
Wow. Now that makes a lot of sense. Because I'm curious to know, like, during this time or around that time, maybe before you got with the person that you was in an abusive relationship with, were you in a relationship with someone who wasn't abusive, and you found that to be, out of the ordinary? So you might have stepped out away from the relationship because you didn't think that that person loved you. Like, how did you find yourself in dealing with people or situations where the
They
person wasn't
abused
abusive?
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sad to say, I never experienced that.
Wow.
um
Okay.
as I
Wow.
was like when I was younger, like how you do high school date and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I dated people in high school, but it was like people that really didn't appreciate me. It was like I had low self-esteem growing up, and I didn't think I was really pretty and stuff like that. So the people that talked to me was like I was a hidden. I used to call myself the ugly duckling. So when people did approach me, I used to think that it was a privilege for me to be in their presence. So
Mm.
when I was in the people presence, I used to treat them like their God and stuff like that. But I was there hidden. They would hide me because I wasn't that pretty. So I was their little secret. You know what I'm saying? So when I was in high school and stuff like that, those relationships was more of me being hidden, and I didn't really experience that relationship. So they didn't know my worth. I didn't know
Mm.
my worth. So those relationships were still abusive. They wasn't physically abusive, but they were like emotionally and verbally abusive. So I still attracted that type of abuse even as a child dating into relationships. And then my second series, like that was my first relationship. My second serious relationship was with my kid's father. And that relationship was very abusive.
Hmm.
Financially, emotionally, physically, and it just digressed. Like it started just with physical, like emotionally, then and verbally, and then digressed to the physical when he knew after I had the baby, he's like, "Oh, I got her. She's not going nowhere." And that's where it physically came into play.
Mm.
Wow. Wow. And kids can be so cruel. And that, like you said, that they said that you weren't attractive or you wasn't pretty and things of that nature. And but my thing is, like, you don't really know what these kids are going through in the household. And I think this is why we need to have more conversations like this, because I think that domestic violence is still like taboo, or it's something that people don't want to touch much, because it's like it has this kind of, if you're not going through it, it's not your business. So mind your business. And I think that we need more awareness, and that's why we're doing this show. So I know that you say that you've been in two relationships that were abusive thus far. How were you able to, what was like some of the first steps you took to be able to remove yourself from that situation?
Um, the relationship that I am in right now was my moving point. Like the person that I am with now, he been through his own trauma and I've been through my own trauma. Like I became because like people don't realize that like sometimes the abuser, the victim becomes the abuser. Me personally, I wasn't a physical hitter, but I was verbally. So because I've been through so much domestic violence, people verbally attacking me and emotionally attacking me, I go on the defense before you would. So when I went into this next relationship that I came in with my guards up, already knowing what the relationship was going to present itself as. I came into the relationship with pre-perceived concepts of my mind, like, oh, he's going to be just like the rest of them. So I'm going to go in with my guards, and regardless of how he act or what he say, because it's not to be trusted. So I came into this relationship with guards up because that's what they tell you. You need to heal before you move into a relationship. But if you're not knowing that you need to heal, you keep continuing to move on. In my mind, a lot of people that go through domestic violence, they think that if you're out of the relationship, that the problem is gone, which is not true. Because the problems you carry whatever you developed in that relationship to the next relationship, and a lot of people don't understand that. And I took all the baggage and all the frustration, my trust issues, my doubts, my low self-esteem, all of it into my next relationship. And I attacked him with it. And once I got pregnant with my daughter by him, that's what made me start to become more aware of where I was in my life. Like, I cannot raise another child in the state that I am. Like, this is not good. Like, we're at each other's throat. I'm exhausted. I'm frustrated. I'm just not comfortable in my body. I'm not comfortable in this relationship. I'm not comfortable in anything. So it started with self-awareness. It started with me wanting to be more than what I was and who I was, because like I refused to give. In my mind, I refused to ruin another child, because my other kids experience like not the worst version of me, but like because of my domestic violence, I don't trust nobody. So I became a helicopter parent, where I hovered over my kids, like to the point like 5 steps off the porch is a problem for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that became overbearing for them, like to the point that I thought that I was protecting them, but I was losing their trust, because they didn't trust to tell me anything, because they thought I would overreact or I would be aggressive about the situation and I wouldn't understand them. So I kind of unintentionally kind of traumatized my kids, and me being aware of it, because when I became pregnant, I started to talk to my kids more and started to listen to have more better conversation. And I realized like, okay, the approach that I have been doing has not been working. So it's time for a change if I want my kids back.
That makes sense.
So it's all like the consciousness, just like we all live in the back of our brain, which is our unconscious mind. And we have to intentionally think in the front part of our brain. And every decision has to be a conscious decision. And instead of a pattern just moving on, a lot of people just move about the day because that's what they're used to. It's like tying your shoe. Once you figure out how to tie your shoe, never think about tying your shoe again. You just tie your shoe. And that's how life is. Once we learn something, we just continue to move on life, just like it's life, because we already learned that skill. We could just continue. But when you're in trauma and stuff, like every decision, every move you have to make has to be conscious. You have to think about what you're saying and how you're doing it and how it's going to affect the person that you're interacting with. So I had to become aware and more conscious of every step that I was moving to start to move myself from the position that I was to the position that I am today.
Wow. Rose, I have a question for you. Can you take me through the if I don't want to seem like we're kind of backtracking, but I am interested in knowing, and I believe that our viewers also want to know as well, what were some of the warning signs in your relationship that I guess spelled out before the abuse started? What were some, hindsight 2020, what are some of the warning signs that you received from your partner that he was potentially abusive?
Manipulation. Manipulated me to make me think a lot of them try to manipulate me to make me think that I was the problem. And they weren't the problem. If you didn't do this, I would not have done that. I'm conscious to know that my actions does not determine your actions. What I do doesn't, yes, I influence your actions, but what you do is all your own responsibility. Because I do something bad doesn't mean you have to respond bad. You know what I'm saying? Or because I say something doesn't mean that you have to go and make the situation even. As conscious adults, we should be able to be responsible for our own self. So that manipulation was a lot. So I used to stick in the situation because I felt like, okay, if I didn't do this, he wouldn't did this. So maybe if I fix me, he would stop reacting to me. So that
Oh,
was like
wow.
the biggest thing, like manipulation and like the cheating.
Okay.
Cheating. And then fake apologies. Like people will do like they'll apologize, but they'll only change for like 2 weeks and then go right back to their old patterns.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
you
the best apology is changed behavior.
Yes, exactly. And I tell people that all the time. Apology is a verb, not it's a verb. It's an action.
Exactly. Yes.
It's definitely an action. So we definitely need to realize when somebody apologizes, the action needs to follow behind it. It's just not words that they speak.
Right.
And I used to listen to people's words and fall in love with their words or their potential, but not with who they're presenting. So another thing that I learned on my journey is my awareness is to evaluate each person for who they are. Like just take stock of when you're having a conversation with somebody, even if you're not ready to act on that thing, but take stock of it. Like just start to make a list of things that you're becoming aware of. Like those red flags, a lot of people don't know how to end on the first red flag, but just take a stock of it. Just realize when a person really show up for who they are, take stock of it. Don't actually listen to their words, but listen to their actions. Pay attention to their actions and take stock of it. Like I understand what they're saying. They might have the potential to do that, but how long would it take them to get to that potential? Will it be long enough that you can wait for that to happen, or or are you in a place that you need it to happen right now? You know what I'm saying? It's like people can change, but how long will it take it to change? And will that do you more damage now than your future stuff would be effective? You know what I'm saying? So you just really have to take stock and realize what you need right now in this present time, if that person can provide it for you or not.
Right. Now,
So-
as far as like gaslighting, did you experience any of that in your relationship?
Not really gaslighting, but yeah, mostly just manipulation and physical abuse and stuff like that. The gaslight, I really never experienced. I was kind of blessed because when I really started researching domestic violence, like gaslight, I probably would have went crazy.
Right.
Somebody convincing you that something was happening that wasn't happening
Yes.
will really cause you crazy, especially when you're going through, like I have PTSD. So somebody telling me that something is not happening when I know what's happening is reoccurring, it's like it will literally probably put me in a crazy house.
Or saying that like how you feel, not validating how you feel, like doing something and then saying, oh, it wasn't my intention, like copping out, and oh, you just perceived wrong. I know that there's a lot of abusers, psychological abusers and mental abusers who tend to do that. They tend to question your perception of the world and your ability to feel and know what you're experiencing,
Yeah. That's
Wow.
the good thing about me. I'm even though I've been through a lot, I'm very aware and I'm very like kind of emotionally intelligent. Like I'm really in tune with my emotions, even when they get overwhelmed. Because even with inside my counseling sessions, because I do counsel for my PTSD, she was like, "You're one of the most aware person I ever saw." I said, "The awareness is not the problem; it's the actions that come after awareness that I've been struggling with when it comes to my PTSD. Like I'm very conscious about what's going on, how it's going on, how I'm being manipulated and stuff like that. It's just like working inside of you to move forward to getting those things resolved."
Now, I do have another question for you. I know that you mentioned financial abuse.
Yes.
And a lot of women don't understand that when they enter into relationships, abuse is not just about, the black eyes or the slaps. It can take other forms as well. Mental abuse, verbal abuse, but financial abuse is very covert and it happens over time. I would love to hear your experience with financial abuse in your relationship.
With my kid's father, it started, like you said, it started slowly. It started to the point where they was just asking him, and his whole family was just asking to borrow money. They were just like, "Oh, can I borrow this?" And then I would never get paid back. You know what I'm saying? Like, "Oh, you're part of the family." That's the way to manipulate. "You're part of the family. We'll get to you. You know what I'm saying? We'll get to you." And then and they never got to me. And then when they did decide to pay me back, they would give me like pennies on a dollar. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, well, that's not fair. I want to get paid back the same way I gave you the money, but they didn't care. They didn't do it. So, and then it progressed on to them telling me like I became responsible for things that I didn't want to be responsible for. It became an obligation for me that I didn't want to be obligated to. And then it became to controlling my money, where your money is our money and my money is my money. And you got to control how I distribute my money, but I couldn't control how you distribute yours.
Wow.
And becomes I got by the end of that relationship, like my bank account was empty. I was in a place of negative. I was in a place of financial distress.
Wow.
And how does that like carry on in your relationship moving forward? Like, do you in order to be financially abused in that way, right? Where your bank account is drained. Is it a matter of like you handed over your bank account information to your partner? You guys had a joint account. How did that look like?
Well, some people will like if the guy is really good at what he's doing, he will convince you to do that. He didn't have to convince me. All he had to do was tell me. I was that low that his words was enough to tell me what to do, and I was able to do it.
Wow.
But in some situations, they would do what you said. They will have a joint account where they're monitoring everything that you're doing. And then when you do something outside of what they give you permission to, that's when the lash come out, or they'll discipline you to make sure you stay in line.
Wow.
That didn't happen to me because I never got out of line. I just followed through. So I didn't get the discipline when it comes to that, because like I told you before, I had very low self-esteem. And again, I thought I was the ugly duckling. And my first kid's father, he was very attractive. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do whatever I can, whatever he says, so he can stay in my presence and I could be seen with him and people could see me in a different light. So whatever I had to do, I did what I had to do to feel like I was welcomed in his presence.
Wow. Wow. I do want to backtrack a little bit, because you said something about cheating.
Yes.
And you like repeated it. Was it that I wasn't clear as to who was cheating or where the abuse came from? He was. Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah. So that came with the emotional abuse. The cheating was like more emotional abuse. Well, I didn't touch like before, because we talked about domestic. Like I've been sexually assaulted before. So sexual, I'm not a very sexual being. So because I'm not a sexual being, he feel like since I am not providing or giving him his needs, he has the right to go out and pursue someone else for those needs. And me feel bad for how I feel about my body or having sexual intercourse.
And you've expressed, because you were in a relationship, you expressed your past to him and your history. Yes. And he's still, wow. So that was damaging.
Like people use that as leverage. A lot of abusers use it as a leverage. That's what I told you. It comes with the manipulation. So that's why I said most of my situations was manipulation, because I would tell somebody my past. I would, that's what you're supposed to do. You open up to people about what's going on with you, and they use it as leverage, or use it as bait, or use it as a way to get what they want.
Wow.
Yeah.
And in your relationship, like how quickly did it progress from dating and it being all smiles to actual abuse? How quick did that transition occur?
It wasn't quick. I say about 2 years. So the first year was good. Then I got pregnant with my daughter. And then during the pregnancy, he cheated on me for the first time when I was pregnant. And then right after the pregnancy, that's when it started.
Whoa.
So 2 years. So he had a good pass on for a long time.
Are there any like telltale signs when dealing with someone who's an abuser that you find now that you can tell someone
Overlooked? Like maybe
not even just overlooked, but just like now with her experience going forward, she would be able to tell someone like this would be a telltale sign that this person possibly is an abuser. Are there any like
the warning signs? Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say mostly just listen to people. Like, it's not like each person presents themselves different. Sometimes you could walk into a relationship and people wear the mask. They could wear a mask for like 5 years. So some people are really good with their masks. But eventually everybody will have to seek through. You can only hold on to your persona for so long. Eventually they'll seek through. So when they do seek through, the biggest sign is to pay attention. Like I said, pay attention. If someone get aggressive with you or they yell at you, like, hold on. If you're in an argument, this is the biggest thing that I noticed at the beginning, like you said, like, when I got into a disagreement, how they handle a disagreement is the biggest red sign.
Right.
So what they do in that disagreement, do they try to understand you? Do they try to get to a resolution, or do they play the blame game? Do they try to push it off? Do they try to reflect? What are they doing in that disagreement? Do y'all come to a resolution, or do you leave still? Do your issues get left unresolved, but they get their issues settled?
Right.
You have to pay attention how when you get in disagreement with somebody, see how they communicate. Their communication is like the biggest thing.
Absolutely.
It's the communication. See how they handle you. Pay attention to how people handle you.
That makes sense. And we have normally I'd say that open panel for after the interview, but we got Dawn. Dawn is a special guest because Dawn is responsible for tonight's show.
Yeah.
So whenever she's ready to come off mute, I know she probably has something she wants to say.
Hi guys.
Hey Dawn.
First of all, I just want to say that Rosie, I love you so much. I've seen her in the before and the after. I've watched her blossom into the beautiful woman that she has always been. And she saw me in my worst state and in my best state also. So, when she says that, when you're in an abusive relationship, the past trauma that you've experienced, it kind of programs you to go towards that type of person. But at the same time, abusers look out for people who are traumatized. They look for people that they know are not strong in themselves, because just like Rosie, I've been with people who, like she said, when somebody shows you who they are, that's who they are, right? And you don't try to change a person. And that first time they call you, for me, a fat bitch. Excuse me, I don't know if I can say that.
Yeah.
You kind of think like, oh, well, I must have did something, or like Rosie said, for a long time with me too, especially when I got my status, I felt like, well, I should be happy that somebody wants to be with me. So I took that verbal abuse, you know what I'm saying? I took physical abuse. And it wasn't until like Rosie, once I came to light, you know what I'm saying? And I realized I was worthy, that I started, taking stock in the people that I was attracting, and I was attracting myself too. But, when you say about people are being, in domestic violence relationships, and they're not talking about it, one of the reasons a lot of times women, and I don't know if Rosie will agree with me, don't talk about it is because they're judged.
Yes, ma'am.
Stigmatized. The friends and the family will say stuff like, well, just leave then. Why don't you just leave? Or
that's the terrible response. Like they don't understand. Like
absolutely. Or the friends and family who think they're helping you will say stuff like, well, you stupid. Ain't no way I would ever stick around for nothing like that. And at the end of the day, you adding more trauma to me than you are helping me, right? Or the family and the friends who see the abuse and just don't say nothing. Oh, it's going to be all right. It ain't that bad. He didn't mean to. She didn't mean to. So,
it's like the family gaslighting you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the mental health aspect of it, I feel like, it's like the older generation, I would say millennials and up, like, mental health was something that we didn't really have any regard for
Mhm.
coming up. So you get a lot of the older people in the family saying things like that, like, oh, just leave, or it's not my business, kind of that kind of like hands off, it doesn't have anything to do with me kind of vibe. So I just wanted to salute all the people in the building for watching us. Hit that like button. We're having a powerful conversation about domestic violence tonight with the great Rose Jones. She's breaking it down. So I'm curious to know about reflection coach. I've heard that there's many types of coaches out here. I consider myself the relationship guy. That's my thing. But as a reflection coach, what does that look like? What does that entail? If someone were to come to you or to want to watch your channel, what exactly would they get from a reflection coach?
I hope you pretty much reflect on what you've been through and where you want to go. So it's like more like of awareness thing, because that was like the first step for me. So I feel like if you're not aware of what you're going through or where you want to be, is no way to change it. So a reflection coach is pretty much guiding you through your awareness stages of what trauma am I facing? What issues that I'm facing within me that I need to change so I can become the person that I want to be? You know what I'm saying? It's like reflecting on every situation that you're going through. Like, and a lot of people like me, every time I get into a disagreement, I sit with myself for 2 hours and break down that situation. I reflect on what went wrong in a conversation. How can I improve the conversation next time? And what triggers that I did have that was still coming up for me in that conversation. You know what I'm saying? It's like reflecting on your everyday interactions with yourself and with other people so that you could move forward in the direction that you want to move forward in your life. So I hope you reflect on your past, break that down, and then reflect onto your future so you can be currently move forward in the place that you want to be so that your present won't be affected
Right.
by what you've been through.
Yeah, because I took some life coaching courses, and like a lot of the times, like people it's like they're stuck on a hamster wheel where it's like they're so caught up in the past and not doing, like how you said, reflecting
Yep.
to actually take inventory of what's going on, so you can take yourself off the hamster wheel. So that's pretty powerful stuff. Definitely. I was looking for your podcast. I couldn't find it. I was looking for your YouTube, or I think that's what it's on, right?
Yes, it's on YouTube.
What's the name of your channel?
Sister, Rose Jones.
Okay, Rose Jones. That's what I should have thought about typing that in.
Yeah.
I was curious because I wanted to check out some episodes. What do you talk about on your podcast?
Just pretty much like different kind of. So with the reflection coach, once you understand what's going on, once you understand what you need to do in your life, you still need the skills to do it. So on the podcast, I'm pretty much giving you some skills like self-deceptiveness, self-esteem, self-perspectives, different kind of personal development skills that you would need in this process of your self-reflection. So, okay, now I know what to do. Now, how do I do it? Because like I told you before, like in my journey with my PTSD, I started it because I knew what to do, but I didn't know how to do it. A lot of people are worried, like, okay, I know this, but now you're picking up a whole bunch of pieces and try to put them together to figure out how to do it. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to help people easier find those pieces once you understand what do you need to do.
Nice. Good stuff. Wow. So if you had if you had the ability to talk to someone who is on that hamster wheel of a domestic relationship, and they've been there for a while, let's say it's been 5 years or just a long enough time for it to become habitual to them, what is something you would say to that person to try to help get them to change habit or to take that first step? Because like you said, it's not always about looking at the big, picture of, oh, I have to do all these things. I have to move. I have to, get a new job. I have to relocate. That first step. What is something you would tell someone in that situation?
So the person is ready to go, right? They made a decision that this is enough, right?
Well,
Okay.
maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't.
Okay. Now it's
They're
time.
just on the will. They're just on the
They're on
will.
the will. They're on the will. The only way to get off the will is to make a decision.
Right.
There's no easy way. There's no ifs and buts about it. It's a decision. Every day we have to make a conscious decision. Regardless of what's going to happen, I need to make a decision. I can continue on this will for the rest of my life, or I can continue and start a new one. It's a conscious decision. And that's why if they're ready to go or not. Because if they're not ready to go, that it doesn't matter what I say to them today. They have to be constantly ready to walk away. And
that's a question.
Or convince them. You have to have enough. Everybody enough is not the same.
Right.
So they have to find their capacity of enough.
You just answered my question.
Yep. If their capacity of enough is not enough, then they will continue on that will.
Because I've looked at domestic violence situations, and I've heard stories, and I know people who were domestically abused. And I know that, it doesn't turn out good in some cases. In some situations it results in death.
Yeah.
It really is a serious situation, ladies and gentlemen listening in. And so I kind of, I know what it's like to talk to someone blue until you're blue in your face, and try to empower them. Like, you can leave. I will help you. There's a situation with Blueface right now, and this girl that he's dating or whatever. I think her name is Krishan or Christiane or something like that.
Yeah, I seen it. Yeah.
And it's totally like, this is domestic violence played out right in front of everyone. And he berates her. He publicly humiliates her. And she keeps running back. And then I guess, after they got into their physical altercation and taped it live, their physical altercation, she goes 2 days later and says, "Oh, he finally accepted me as his girlfriend. I'm officially his girlfriend." And I'm like, this woman lost her front teeth over this man, then had implants put in, okay, with this man's face in the dentures, okay, and she still took him back after that physical assault. Blueface, the rapper, Koron.
Yeah, I'm familiar with them.
Yeah.
And so,
but you know what?
I think the biggest situation when it comes to that is that a lot of people, the biggest issue is that people try to motivate the person to leave. That's not the answer. The answer is to be there for the person when they're ready to leave.
Absolutely.
So when they finally get to that point, they can get to that point knowing that they have somebody on the other side. If everybody neglect them and say, I can't deal with you because you're going through this, I can't be around you because you're going through that, they will stay longer because they don't have nobody on the other side.
Right.
That person waiting for them on the other side.
And you know what? You can't, because here's the thing, at the end of the day, you can't make somebody do something until they hit their rock bottom. It's the same thing like with somebody who's an active drug user, and the family is like trying to make them go to rehab, threaten them with, we're not going to talk to you no more, this and this and that. You not pushing them towards you, you pushing them away from you. So you have to be an opening for them. Like, it makes me think about, I don't know if everybody watches P-Valley, where what's her name told the girl that's being abused by her husband, like, here's the tools. When you're ready to use them, I'm here for you, because she knew. But the more you tell a person, oh, you know what, I can't deal with you no more because you just keep going back, or the person in the comments said, the women in her family, they kept opening or re-inviting the evil back into the dwelling. Well, if that's all they feel like they got, because everybody else has thrown their hands up, then yes, they gonna keep. It's like I hate to say it, and I'm not putting a person, but if you beat a dog and put the dog out, and the dog don't got nowhere else to go, guess what the dog do? The dog come back. You beat the dog again, and the dog still come back. Because if that's all that dog has, you know what I mean? So it's just like a woman. If the woman is being abused physically or abusively, verbally, and the family throws their hands up, the so-called friends throw their hands up, and everybody cuts her off, what makes you think she gonna leave? Especially if she got kids and she don't have no other ways of financial support. And if she don't know any better, if you don't know, you don't know.
You don't know.
Right.
That's another big issue with domestic violence. A lot of people don't know that they're in a domestic violence situation. Me personally, at the beginning, I did not realize that it was domestic violence because, again, that was my only example of love that I ever had. So to me, that was normal. A lot of people don't think that it's not normal. Like, what do you mean he's supposed to do that? What? That's not what I was told. That's not what I was shown. So again, you have to sit in a place of empathy because everybody was not raised the same way. Everybody would not have the same perspective of life that you have.
Right.
And if you see somebody and they are telling you stuff like that, I think the best way to do is try to expose those people to different perspectives, different things. And then they start craving it, like, oh, I want that. Maybe I should get that. Maybe that felt good. That felt good. What I'm feeling right now don't feel good. I feel content, but it's not good. It's not the feeling that I feel when I seen that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Expose people to new, different things. You know what I'm saying?
If they don't, and then it's even sometimes, and I don't want to outweigh one abuse than the other, but when it's not physical, sometimes it's even harder for the person to realize that they're being abused.
Yeah.
So, first thing they'll say is, "Oh, I'm not being abused. They ain't putting their hands on me." But they calling you every name in the book. They controlling your funding. They won't let you go around your family unless they with you. But if they not being physically abused, in their mind, that's not abuse. And let's now talk about men being abused.
I was going to get to that.
Men don't believe that they can be abused. Oh, men are abused physically, mentally, verbally.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, I was going to get to that, but I'm glad, you said that, Rose. You can't, lead the horse. I mean, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't force the horse to drink.
No.
So we're not saying to ignore, just to oh, that's none of my business, but don't force it and say, oh, just leave, or just let them know that, like Rose said, show them an alternative because they may not even know.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then let them know that you're there for them when they do decide to make the change. Two powerful things.
Yeah. I always tell people, like, I hate when people preach to me, and I'm like, listen, if you want me to change, show me the change. If it's a behavior that I'm having that you don't like, your words is not going to influence. Show me it's working for you. And then maybe I'm like, yeah, maybe I want to do it. It worked for that person. I see how that's making that thing is making that person better. Maybe I should try it. Especially when it's somebody that you care about. Show them what love look like. Give them as much love as you can. Give them that feeling that they're not receiving. Then they'll crave your love and not that other person's love. They'll understand the difference. You have to show people. Words is not enough. Because if words were enough, kids will be listening to their parents every day.
That's a fact. I forgot to show this earlier. I just wanted to show some of the statistics that people going through domestic violence. I mean, look at this. On average, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States, not the world, in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men experience severe intimate partner physical violence. Intimate partner contact.
Sexual violence.
Sexual violence and intimate partner stalking with impacts such as injuries, fearfulness, post-traumatic stress disorder, use of victim services, contraction of sexually transmitted diseases. We talk about STDs on this channel a lot, right? 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have experienced some sort of physical violence by an intimate partner. This includes a range of behaviors: slapping, shoving, pushing, and in some cases might not be considered domestic violence. So this domestic violence is happening on a lot more than people think. So to those that say, oh, well, this is not the show for me, or this is not something that is common for me, I guarantee you someone close to you is going through this. And I could go on for days, but this is a good website. NCA, I think it's ncavadv.org. They got the stat. I'll put this in the description so you can check it out. But these stats are crazy. You know, it has everything. I mean, the economic we was talking about, the economic impact, talks about the children. So yeah, it's this is a very, very important topic that I feel like doesn't get enough exposure. So that's why I wanted to talk about this tonight.
I have some feedback, or a question rather. And I'd love for Rose to give some insight on this.
Okay.
Oftentimes in relationships, the individuals will argue, right? They'll get into a back and forth. Sometimes there's swearing. Sometimes you might name call a partner. I really want to get down to the nitty gritty and make this as relatable as possible for those in the back who might think that DV doesn't apply to them. I want to know, from your estimation and your experience, what is the difference between domestic violence, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say verbal abuse, that form of domestic violence, and getting into a cussing match with your partner, or slamming doors, you know, in the house with your partner. Does that quantify as domestic violence?
It depends. It depends on the purpose behind it.
Okay.
Sometimes people are responding from a place of how they handle a situation. Like I said, we all been raised different. So, and if you was raised in a household where argument was slamming doors and yelling, that's how you argue. You're not trying to intentionally attack that other person or make that person feel that way. That's just all you know.
No, okay.
If you are conscious of how you're doing it to manipulate somebody, then that's what makes it different. It's the conscious and the unconsciousness that makes it a difference. If you're doing it on purpose to manipulate somebody, to make somebody feel bad, to make them do something that you want to do, that is abuse.
Wow.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, because if you're unconsciously doing something, you don't even know that you're doing it, and you don't know that what you're doing is not normal.
Right.
Wow, good point. Good point. I put the link in the description to those because I know Rose, she doesn't have much time. So if you guys want to ask Rose some questions, you can hit the link, or you can continue posting in the comment section. Comments, you know, we have got some good comments thus far.
And for those who want to join the StreamYard, please note that if you're listening in on YouTube, it is in the description box.
It is, and I put it in the chat too, so they could see it. And just kick it right then and there. I wish I could pin it. Because I know Rose doesn't have much time. But wow, good stuff. So it's on them. We answered a lot of my questions. Let me see if
Rose, I have one question for you. And
go ahead.
I'm sorry if I'm bombarding you. It's just that this topic really, I want to make sure that we get to the nitty gritty of everything. And we're helping as many people as possible get out of their particular situations. And most importantly, identify ways that they can become more aware of their own relationship. That day that you decided to leave, take us back to that day.
It was traumatic. The moment that I decided to leave was that I had a knife to my kid's father's throat. I had to choose me or him.
Wow.
So I had to make a choice. And when I was like, I had him, and I was like, he was on top of me. He bust through my window. We was having a disagreement. He jumped through my front window, broke through, and chased me into the kitchen. My first thing was to do is grab the knife. I grabbed the knife and I started to try to stab him, but he had this big, thick hoodie on. And I was stabbing him, and he, once he realized what I was doing, he's like, "Oh, you're trying to kill me, bitch." And I was like, "Yeah, I had to choose me or you." And then when he realized I chose me, he got up and ran.
Wow.
And I knew at this point, somebody's going to die.
Yes.
And I chose me that day. I had to make a decision.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
I applaud your honesty.
Thank
But
you.
we have
Mhm.
Sherry. We have Sherry, who just joined the panel. Hello, Sherry.
Hey guys, how are you?
We're
Hey,
doing fine.
Sherry.
We're having a
Good.
powerful conversation tonight about domestic violence. What are
Yes.
your thoughts?
Well, I grew up in a house and around many family members who suffered in a domestic violence relationships. But being myself and my cousins growing up and viewing this, I always like wondered what is the correct way to handle stuff like that when children are involved. Because for me, I did not want to grow up in my house. Like I would have preferred to have left and went to a different family member's house. But unfortunately, even the other family members were getting the same treatment. So I mean, like when it comes to the children, how do you push? Or I know you say you don't push, but like, what do we do with the kids? Are they
That's
just supposed to take that?
that's the sad part about it is that most people, if you are in a domestic violence situation, you call child protective services. But is it doing? It depends on where your kids get placed. If it's going to do the kids any better or any good. So you're thinking that you're saving the kids, but if they get placed in a more traumatic situation, are you really helping them? And that's the bad part about domestic violence is that everybody suffers if you're trying to help somebody. So it all comes down to the parents consciously making decisions to do the right thing for their kids. And if that is like, if we can't get it together, we need to separate. And
Right.
that's like the biggest thing that people have to come to content to, like, okay, at this point we can't get together. If we can't do it for us, we need to figure out a way to do it for the kids. And that means if that's the only solution is to separate, is to separate, to keep the kids from suffering childhood trauma from us, then that's a decision. But a lot of people can't make that decision because they're stuck in their self. So the saddest part, most situation, the kids end up in child protective services, or they get lucky to find a family member that just really consciously is able to take care of them and take them away from the situation.
Wow. So Rose, I'm assuming based on your experience, you believe that if a couple has experienced domestic violence, that they can actually work through that.
Yes.
And change it and turn it around. So there's hope for those that are in
With
a relationship. You go ahead.
Professional help.
Professional help.
Not just them, they need professional help. Because it's things that now that they created trauma for each other, it's now become a traumatic situation. A lot of people can't really work through traumatic situation by themselves. You need to go to a counselor, a specifically trained person that specializes in those areas.
Yes.
To help you work through it, to get to the bottom, because each abuser and each victim has a root that allowed that to happen. And you need to uncover the root and work from the root up. You gotta dig that root up, get rid of it, and plant a new seed.
Yes.
A lot of people, and it take a real trained professional to get to the root of most stuff when it comes to domestic violence or trauma.
Do you particularly advocate for rehabilitation for couples that experience domestic violence, especially where there's physical abuse and like threatening of life in that relationship? Would you advocate for rehabilitation and counseling for that couple?
Yes, I would.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I would, because it all depends on the situation of how. It depends on how they want to perceive. Not it because once again, it's not about me.
Mm-hmm.
It's about them. So it's not my decision to tell somebody yes or no. It's my decision to be the support, and it's their decision to figure out if this is not for them. So if as they do the work, they will consciously become aware, like, maybe this is not for me. I could do better without the situation. But if you don't give them that support that they need, they will never come to that resolution. You have to give them. It's like the same thing. Like you have like kids dating, like you tell them you don't want to date that person because that you consciously know that person is no good for them. But as more as you tell that person not to date them, that's the more they want to date them, because it's that resistance.
Yeah.
Release the resistance. Release the resistance.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
Release
Absolutely.
it. You gotta release the resistance. They will. If it's not too many people, see, when people tell you, oh, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, you try to neglect all the stuff that people are saying, and you focus on the good. Now, when people are showing you the good, now is your opportunity to focus on the bad. So people that's like, oh, I like this person, not that. You're constantly in defense. So when you're in a defense mode, you're defending your partner. You're advocating for all their good features. So that's all you're focusing on.
Yeah.
Now, when people are paying attention to all that good feature, and it's like, hold on, that person's not as good as you think they are. Like, they do this and this and that. Now you're paying attention.
Yeah, that's part of that love is blind crap.
Yeah.
You know? Like, oh, love is blind. So you put the blinders on to ignore all of the toxicity, the BS that goes on, because they really love you. And it doesn't matter if they're, hitting you in your face or emotionally abusing you. Doesn't matter. This person loves me. So yeah.
Love is a drug. Love, a lot of people know that love gives you a feeling like it's a dopamine. It's like dope. I think that's the word. It's
dopamine.
Dopamine. There you go. Dopamine. You get a boost of dopamine when you're in love, and you look for that high constantly. So when you start a relationship and you get all those feelings, you get that high feeling, and then when a relationship comes down, you seek that high again. Just like if somebody's in drugs. You do anything and everything to get to that high again. So you're doing everything it takes to get that feeling once again. And that's a lot of people that's in domestic violence. They got that one big feeling that they never felt before, and they feel so good. So good. It's like, I know he's capable of doing this. I know I'm capable of having that feeling again. I had it before. So they chase it. They chase it. Not knowing that feeling was fake. It was only a moment. They had a mask on. They did whatever. And that's another thing about sharing too much in a relationship. You tell everybody what you want, how I want it, and what I need, and they'll do it because you told them. But that's not what they fully desire, because abusers, like, they know how to manipulate. They'll do everything that you ask them to do to get you where they need you to get. And once they got you there, they'll drop you. And you're chasing that.
Wow.
So I recommend people, like I said, go into relationships being you, but just allow people to show you who they are. Like, don't share too much. Like, oh, what do you need? What do you want in a relationship and stuff like that? Just pretty much say, I just want somebody to be there for me and stuff like that, and just see how they present themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't give somebody too much details. I don't think you should give them too much detail. Like, in the first couple dates and stuff like that, just see who they are. See how they present themselves. You can tell me like your favorite color, your favorite foods, and it's like general information. You know what I'm saying? Just basic information, just getting to know you, but like deep disclosed information, don't do that. Don't do that right away.
I have a question. It's a little off topic, being that you spoke about the early phases of dating. I always tell people that they should consider waiting 4 to 6 months before they even have sex with someone. And I get a lot of backlash, people telling me, oh, that's too long of a time, et cetera, et cetera. What are your thoughts on that? And the primary reason why I say that 4 to 6 months has to do with STD tests, making sure that our STD test is right, everything is negative, no surprises, and during that time, we'll have a series of tests, typically 2 tests. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that if you were to maybe abstain or to let someone know that you're not really trying to jump in with the physical so fast, would that maybe push some people away that might be abusers, or would that what are your thoughts?
I would say no, because that happened with me. I didn't, like I told you, I wasn't very sexual. So with my kid's father, we waited 6 months, 7 months, and he still turned out to be that hooked me up even more, because that connection that we had was crazy, because it was 6 months of us just getting to know each other, spending time with each other without that obligation of sex. And it still turned out to be an abusive relationship.
And there were no signs whatsoever that he was abusive.
No, I think that with him, I think he became an abuser
Wow. Do you
because
know? Oh, go ahead.
I'm a very strong-headed person, so I don't bow. Like, if that makes sense. Like, I listen, but I don't bow. So like I had some resistance to him, and he didn't like the resistance. So to calm down my resistance, he tried to put me in line.
So, okay. So how long after the physical did the abuse start?
I don't understand.
Sexual encounters. How long after the sexual encounters
Yeah.
did abuse start?
Sorry, I was trying to be
Oh,
politically
it
correct because of YouTube.
about a year and a half, because we started having sexual intercourse 6 months, and then I told you I got pregnant within a year. So I got pregnant within 6 months after we started having sex, and then after I had the baby, it started. So a year and a half.
Okay, so I forgot to add like the 6-month thing. My whole theory is based on safe sex too. So
Yeah.
wearing the condoms and
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree that because a chemical bond comes when you have sex with somebody.
Exactly.
You can be unattracted to somebody, but you can be sexually attracted to somebody. And that tension can make you stay in a relationship longer than you need to.
Right.
Because again, that's another high that you get. A lot of people find love in sex. A lot of people feel like sex is a solution to love. So if you're a person that finds love in sex, then you will stay in an abusive relationship because that is your definition of love. And if that person is giving you how you want to get, then you're going to crave that.
Right.
So
Wow.
I agree. So you need to just see who these people are. Give them
Yeah.
opportunity to show up. Some people can hide for a long time.
So maybe if you didn't get pregnant and it came out in the 16 months, like you said, maybe you would have been in a better position to leave, because now when you have a baby, that's another attachment.
Yeah, that's another attachment. Yes.
So another thing to consider. Wow.
May I ask a question?
Go ahead, Sherry. Go ahead.
What were some of the telltale signs that you saw that maybe could have led up to the physical abuse?
His aggressive tone. The way he handled himself, like people aggression levels, it progress. So him yelling and the way he yelled at me, or the like, you know how you can yell at somebody, but then you get in their space. He kept getting in my personal space.
Gotcha.
So people, if you can have an argument with somebody and they stay in their space, you stay in your. When somebody get in your personal space, that means they're ready for an altercation. They know when they enter into your personal space.
Right.
So if you're arguing with somebody that's quick to enter in your personal space, you need to be careful.
I have a question too, because like
Wow,
what
that's
I
deep.
used to see growing up, like I did see that, right? But it'll be like, maybe his tone would get elevated, but like my mom, for instance, a lot of the stuff that I used to see, it would be provoking. Like, say he wanted to leave, she would not let him go, and then it became physical. Or like, it would be, she thought she knew better, and so her pushing would get physical. Or like, I think she removed a lot of
Your mom was
responsibility.
verbally abusive and your father was physically abusive because he didn't
Right.
know how to articulate himself. So his only way to get his point across was to shut her up. So when somebody feel attacked and they don't know how to communicate their feelings, they usually get aggressive because they don't know how to tell you, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't know how to calm you down, and I feel like I can't control the situation. A lot of people they feel like they want to be in control and they can't control themselves, so they get physical. Just like with anybody, like they get mad and they're like, oh, they can't control you. You're not listening to them, and their first result is to hit. Like, I want to fight now. Now I want to fight. Now I feel violated. I felt disrespected. It's an ego situation, and it could be him feeling like he was like he feel like she was knocking him down and he didn't feel like a man no more. And for him to get his status back, he had to show her who was in charge.
Right. Because I feel like when I was a kid, I used to tell my mom, like, why not just leave it alone? Not today. Like, I don't want to be there. It's scary. But she just couldn't help herself. And I'm like, Mom, you're going to cause a fight. Like, and they should, like, parents, I mean, I'm talking about from a kid's perspective, but also, too, I do feel like my mom was an abuser when it comes to that, because that, you know, the mental abuse and the emotional abuse is what always started it first. In my opinion, I saw that a lot in my house. Now it was different in my aunt's house and stuff like that too, but I don't really know how to like mitigate when I don't think that he meant to be physically abusive. If she would have just like not say be quiet, but like leave it alone, or like let him take 5 minutes. He wanted to take a walk. He said he was gonna come back. Just do that.
But I get that. But again, he's a grown adult. He's responsible for his own actions. Because somebody integrate you or bother you or poke the bear doesn't mean that you have to respond. You know that hitting someone is wrong. If you consciously know that, you shouldn't do it. Don't matter how much you're poked and whatever like that. We have to be responsible for our action.
Yeah.
I don't care how much somebody antagonate me or nothing like that. I want to respond a certain way. If I choose to respond that way, I am now responsible for the way I respond.
Okay,
That's
but
true.
I also have this issue too now. Like, if somebody keeps going, like my mom, when I was living with her, she would do the same thing to me. Like, she'll come into my room and like, if I'm sleeping, she wakes me up with rah rah rah, and like literally whip the covers off of me, put my feet from my bed onto the floor, and I'm like, don't touch me, like give me a moment. I can like hear you, but not right now, especially waking me up out of my sleep. It's so crazy. Like you don't know where people's mental space is.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna say that like, you know, putting your hands on anybody is okay, but that's annoying, and it could take you all the way there.
They can. Like I have triggers like that, to the point that's like I had the trigger like I'm about to mess somebody the hell up. Like I don't care. And I tell my counselor that shit, like I'm consciously aware of what I'm about to do. I evaluate all my options, and that's like right now this is the option I'm about to take, and I'm going to go with it. I know the consequences of it, and I'm about to go with it because I don't feel like there's any other solution at this moment. I can't consciously process any other solution. Some people is just like that. You can evaluate, like I tried to walk away. I tried to, right now, this is my only solution. I haven't adopted another skill to get me through this. And some people
I mean, I was gonna say the funny part about that is like he's called the cops on my mom before to have her like removed from his space because of that, and it just doesn't work in a man's favor as much as it does. I mean, I've seen this for myself than it does for her, because when she calls, he's getting arrested. Like I've watched my father get arrested multiple times. She's helped me to have this view against domestic violence. Like for me, you got to show me the Carfax. If you leave and never go back, that's fine. I can believe you. But if you reinvite the quote unquote emergency back into your house and you keep doing the same stuff, no, now you're like touched.
Yeah, I agree. Again, that's consciously. It seemed like your father was conscious that it was a problem, but he didn't have enough strength to walk away.
I think that he wanted to stay because of his kids, and I really needed my dad, and I was very upset with my mom for a long time that he left.
Yeah, he had to make a decision to fight your mom for custody of his kids. Some people
did not do that. He was exhausted. He wasn't gonna fight no more.
He probably just lacked the capabilities and the knowledge to do what he had to do in that moment. He didn't know how to handle the situation. So a lot of people, it's like in survival mode, you adapt. Our brains adapt to what situation that we're in. And he had to adapt to what situation he felt to survive in. And that's probably what he was doing.
That's why we advocate, you know, people leaving. You know, sometimes people like to say if you're married, you shouldn't get divorced or it's supposed to be for life. But listen, we're human.
Yeah.
Things change, people change, you start to grow apart. Now you finding yourself in more domestic situations. That's when it's a telltale sign that it's either one, we're going to go to counseling, how you said earlier, to sort of repair this, or we just going to, you know, have to call it a quits. And for the betterment of everybody, because you don't want to have a random night, you get into it, and now that leads to a domestic violence homicide, right? Which is more than capable of happening. So the goal is to try to avoid that. And like on this channel, like my goal is to try to bring, you know, males and females together to have, you know, better relationships, healthy relationships. And you know, this topic, I feel as though it's a very powerful topic. to those watching, definitely feel free to hit the link if you want to talk to Rose. I'm not sure how much longer you got, Rose. I know we at that hour mark.
15 more minutes.
You got 15 more minutes for Rose. She has a very, very unique experience when it comes to domestic violence, and she's here to talk. So definitely, if you have any questions, hit that link. It's in the description. It's in the chat. So,
Rose,
wow.
how long after leaving the relationship did you pursue counseling and therapy to recover? And what was that process like for you?
I pursued it like maybe 3 years after. Like I told you, I got into that other relationship, and I started to see myself, and I started to do things that he called me out on stuff like that. I'm like, hold on, that don't make sense. Like he wasn't. I was, like I said, I went in a relationship as on defense mode, and he was like, hold on, that don't work over here. You know what I'm saying? Like he started to make me aware of, make me conscious about things that I did. So I'm like, okay, how can I make this work? Because I don't know what a healthy relationship is, and I don't know how to act in a relationship. All I had examples of abusive relationships, so I had to find somebody that can help me. And I was like 3 years, and then I went to Best Self, and then I went to Best Self, and I told them my situation, and they did a diagnosis on me, and they was like, oh, you got PTSD, and that's why a lot of things is going wrong, because you're replaying a lot of stuff, and you're going to traumatic, and you have childhood trauma, and you have PTSD, and you've been through a lot. Like my laundry list of things that I've been through my life is like, we don't have enough time for that.
Wow.
And I needed to unpack it. I had to start to unpack it. And that's what counseling does. It helps me unpack it. Pretty much she gives me an activity to do, and I have to do it throughout until the next section. So we working on awareness, they work on emotional intelligence, and right now it's like being understanding your emotions. Like a lot of people think that emotions are bad and good. Their emotions are emotions. So we don't need to categorize them. We just need to know that they're existing for a purpose.
Right. So go ahead.
Go ahead.
Now I was going to ask, so you said 3 years after that relationship ended. So what was the last straw that caused that? I'm not sure if you might have said it, but what was that last straw to end that relationship? Was it that he got tired of abusing you, or using you?
She mentioned that. She said that she had a knife to his neck.
Oh, that was that. Okay, cool. Right.
Yeah.
I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Wow,
Yeah.
That's deep. Wow, that's deep. So, any other questions, guys? Trying to get these people in the building. We got people watching. It's just like they're kind of shy tonight. I don't know. I think this topic is a heavy topic, and maybe
I want to talk about something else too. Like I want to talk about it's a heavy topic, but I want to talk about why it's so heavy.
Okay.
Because a lot of people, like people that grew up in the ghetto or the hood, or I don't know what you want to call it, experience a lot of death. It's like it's common in the area. But when you try to help people, you get crucified for helping them, or you get hurt for helping them. People lost their life for helping people that's in domestic violence. You could walking down the street and you see a woman getting beat up, and you jump in it to stop them, and then the abuser, the victim and the abuser jump you, and you get beat up.
Yes, that has happened a lot.
So a lot of people are very scared to approach the situation or do something when they see something, because of they're scared of what's going to happen to me. Right. So like that's like another thing. Like that's the bad thing about it. Like I get it. Like me even being an advocate, like me personally, I won't jump into it. I will call the police.
Right.
I won't jump into somebody fighting. My job is I will call the police, and hopefully the police will get here in enough time.
Right. No, that's the smart thing to do. And Dawn asked a question in the chat. She said, "There's one thing you could say to him. What would it be?"
To who?
I'm assuming to your ex, the one that where it ended with the whole knife situation? What would you? I'm assuming that's who she's talking about when she says that.
What would I talk to him to this day because he is my kid's father. He just don't live where he live in Atlanta, and
Oh,
our
okay.
relationship is actually better now that we're not in a relationship.
Yes.
Because we still co-parent.
Okay.
But what I would say to him is, I don't know what I would say to him. I just tell him. Actually, I kind of thanked him at the same time because I feel like God put us through stuff for certain reasons. He give his soldiers the hardest battles, and he gave me this battle because he knew it was a purpose for me to have this battle. Because if I didn't go through this battle, I wouldn't be here talking to these people, helping other people, enlightening people. So
That's true.
I'm somebody that could withhold this battle. So at the same point, even though it's fucked up and messed up for him to do what he did, that's his battle that he has to face within himself.
Yeah.
And I'm facing I did what I had to do, and now I'm using the battle that I had with him to help other people. So
got it. And it never carried forward to the child, did it? The abuse.
my kids, no.
Yeah, okay. That's good. That's good.
I told my kids is in counseling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
no, that's good. Yeah, it's important because like that trauma, if like we said earlier, it affects the kids.
Yeah.
So everybody gets counseling. That's. I'm glad that you're so not only open to sharing your story to help others, but you even willing to show people that going to counseling is okay.
Yeah.
Some people think that counseling is like I don't know, a demerit or something like that. And I think it's that older generation, like I said, the older millennials and the previous generation, they have that sort of feedback when it comes to mental health or things like this. Like they feel like you need to deal with it yourself. And that's part of the problem. That's why a lot of the stuff is cyclical, and it comes from those past generations down to us. On this show, we talk about standards, right? And we realize that America doesn't really have any real standards outside of the law. So we know that there's laws, you can't do certain things or you're going to go to jail. But outside of that, stuff like sneezing in public, right? You're supposed to, cough into your arm and stuff like that, right? Those are like kind of things that we have. But outside of that, it's kind of this free for all, you do what you want kind of society. And going back to the example you spoke about with the two people fighting on the street, I'm wondering, like, if we were able to have a standard where as a community, if we see that, we all jump in. So now the couple can't fight us all, right? Well, if we could do that, I don't know. I always ask, how could we establish this standard? And we always fall short to figuring it out. But if you could put a standard in place outside of just laws and locking people up, like, do you have any idea what that would look like in terms of just dealing with the domestic violence, like as a community? How could we attack it from a community standpoint?
Speak about it.
Speak about it.
More speak about it. A lot of people don't like release the judgment around domestic violence. Like, let it be what it is. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people like it's always an excuse when it comes to domestic violence. It's never just it's domestic violence. I've been through something. No, you've been through something. Your experience is not like my experience. Oh, we kind of like category domestic violence. No, domestic violence is what domestic violence is. Give people the freedom to speak about their stories. Give people the freedom to just say their experience and just validate, empathize, sit in a place of empathy instead of a place of judgment. Or like, oh, I feel sorry for you, but like not that sorry. You know what I'm saying? Like, because if you would have left, that would have never happened. Like, let it go. Let people be free to speak about it. And I bet you, if people just leave the judgment on the table, just let it go. People will be more free to speak about it. And I bet it'll be more resolution. They'll find a community faster. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. A lot of people don't think that it's a community for them. Because people don't talk about it. It's like they think when somebody experiences domestic violence, they think they're the first person experiencing it.
Right.
Like, you really think you're alone. Like, I'm the only person that ever experienced this ever in my life, because it's not that freely talked about.
No, it's not.
So when you do it, you really think that you're alone. You really think that you're alone until you find a community of people like, oh my God, it's a lot of people that have been through it, but you would never know that until
Yeah, we pulled up the stats.
you accidentally stumbled upon the person. Like
Yeah.
I was at my office time and we was talking about an event that I was having about domestic violence, and my sister brought in a friend, and her friend was just hearing us talk, and then as soon as she left, she started crying to my sister like, oh my God, I'm so happy that you brought me to this office today, because she just opened up to my sister about everything because she felt like she had a safe space to do it. But I think
Yes.
that if she never came into my office that day, she would have never opened up about nobody, because everybody thought that relationship was fairy tales. The way it perceived it was fairy tale. But she had the opportunity because she walked into a space that she felt comfortable to open up. She didn't tell me, but she told my sister. So it's just giving people that comfortable space.
Yeah, they're talking about it, and you. I think that you hit it on the nail. Like that's it. That's the answer.
That's the answer.
Know, we need to have more transparency.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is common. Like I said, we pulled up the stats. Like I don't care what the perfect people in the chat think, the perfect people that listen to this in the future think. You know, people are going through this, and just because it doesn't affect your home directly doesn't mean it's not affecting your brother's home or your sister's home or your cousin's home, right? And we all connected in some way. So yeah, we need to work together, and I think that's part of the standard that needs to be established. Just us, let's talk about it. Let's be there for each other. Let's learn more about what domestic violence is and how we can be of help, not by dismissing, not by just saying leave, you know, not by just, you know, or any other insensitive feedback. Definitely be there for the person. Let the person show the person another way, and also let them know you're there for them when they're ready to make that step. So
exactly. And I think that when it comes to children, like a lot of kids don't grow up in knowing about domestic violence. I'm starting my nonprofit, and my goal is to get the curriculum into the schools. I think it should be, and not just domestic violence, but like healthy relationships in general. The good parts, the bad parts, all aspects of relationships, so they can be fully aware. Because if they're not getting those examples at home, they need those examples somewhere. Somebody do. And school, to me, school is the second home.
Yeah.
So those people influence those kids just as much as the home does.
I want to be 100% behind that. I love that idea.
Yeah. Conflict resolution and relationships.
So you said you starting it or you started it?
I have my nonprofit open, but I'm starting the process this year to try to get the curriculum into the schools.
Nice. And is that Let Rose Speaks?
No, Let Rose Speak is more of a community for women. Is All Roses United is the nonprofit.
Got it. Nice, powerful stuff. So yeah, feel free to share to people your social media so they could check you out. I saw some of your content on IG. It was pretty good. So yeah, if share all the things you would like the people to know.
PSA, when y'all go to my channel, I'm not a speaker. I speak good now because I'm I'm a conversational person, but when it comes to that camera recording, I sound like a robot. So some of my
That's all right. You got to keep going, keep at it. You get better.
I know. That's why I said I have to keep going, because eventually it'll come natural. But yes, my social media is Let Rose Speak. You can get it on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all Let Rose Speak. And the nonprofit is All Rose United. You can look up all of that on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I don't have a TikTok for the nonprofit. And YouTube is Rose Jones, and my podcast is A Sister's Love on YouTube, and it's on Apple and Spotify and everything too.
So make sure y'all tune in.
I just wanted to give you a parting message. You are beautiful.
Thank you.
You are an inspiration. You've demonstrated strength. And I really thank you for sharing your experience on the Mature Topics podcast for us. I know sometimes reliving the trauma can be difficult. And I just want to thank you so much for your transparency. Thank you so much for really relating to us and giving us insight into what you encountered. You truly are a beautiful person. And I feel it necessary to tell you that you are gorgeous, you are strong, you are a beautiful Black woman. And thank you for being a beacon for other women and men to take charge of their life and move forward in a healthy, positive way. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for blessing us with the your story and being, you know, so open to share. Because a lot, like you said, we need to speak up more, and you're a perfect example of that. So hopefully we were able to help some people in the building, watching us on YouTube, and who will watch the replay, to, you know, to be more proactive, to know about the warning signs, and you know, contact a professional. I put the hotline in there, the government hotline in there. You can reach out to Rose. She has a support group for women as well. So there's a lot of opportunity out here to get the help if you truly want it. And if you're not ready right now, we'll be here. You know, this video will be here, and these resources will be here. So I don't want to keep you any longer, Rose. If nobody else has anything you want to say to Rose, I know you had to go. It's been a pleasure. And thank you again. And hopefully we could do another collaboration soon.
I'm looking forward to it. I had fun today. Thank you so much for having me.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you.
Have a blessed day.
All right. Wow, what a powerful show, Launch and
I'm
Sherry.
telling you.
Yeah.
I learned a lot.
I honestly feel like a weighted blanket is on me right now. The content is just deep for me.
Yeah, that's what we try to do on the Mature Topics podcast. We want to have these uncomfortable conversations, and that are needed, and give a lot of value out of it, you know, because it's so easy to tell someone to leave, you know, because we all know people in a situation like this, and it's always, oh, you should leave. What's wrong with you? Why you stay with them? But it could be something that they just don't know, or they're just trapped in that cycle, right? Actually, I was gonna put this on the screen. I had this thing here I want to talk to Rose about. I forgot, but they're trapped in this cycle here. It's called the cycle of abuse, right? And when you talk about the cycle of abuse, it starts with tensions building, tension increase, breakdown of communication. Victim becomes fearful and feels the need to placate the abuser. Then the second phase is the incident: verbal and emotional, physical abuse, anger, blaming, arguing, threats, intimidation. And then the third phase is reconciliation. Abuser apologizes, gives excuses, blames the victim, denies the abuse occurred, or says that it wasn't as bad as the victim claims. And then 4, it gets calm. Incident is forgotten, keyword forgotten. And no abuse is taking place. And this is the honeymoon phase. So it's like this cycle, you stay in this cycle, and it's like dangling the carrot before the horse. And you stay in the calm phase until the tension builds. And so, you know, a lot of it has to do with mental health as well.
Absolutely.
But like she said, something so powerful, like they have to go out and want to get the help. You can't force it. You know, it's almost like drugs too. And I want to do a show on drugs as well.
Yeah.
It's like a person is addicted to drugs, and you could say all the things you want to say to them, but until they have the realization that, you know, this is a toxic habit that they have that's killing them slowly or fast, depending on the drug that they're taking, and they want to go for help, that's the only way it's going to work. And you have to be that support to let them know that you're going to be there for them when they decide to get the help that's needed, you know. So yeah, I'm happy with tonight's show. I only have one topic tonight. Kind of wish I had another topic, because I didn't think that this show would end so quickly with Rose.
I am actually happy that the show was one topic. I don't think that there needed to be a filler space at all. And
we still got people in the building.
I'm just saying, I don't think so. Hour and 30 minute show. That was powerful, poignant. You know, I think, and then heavy at the same time. there was no other topic that could come after this. So I think we did a
That's
great
what I was
job.
thinking too.
Yeah.
It's just too. I think at this time people need to really just reflect on their life, reflect on their relationship. If they know someone who's in a domestically violent situation, reach out to see how that person is doing, be more encouraging, not necessarily talking bad about the partner or telling that person to leave, but being understanding and just being a voice pad of reasoning and venting, Share those resources again, Koron.
Yeah, this is the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Go here. You can chat, you can text, you can call. They got a lot of resources. It's 24/7. So anytime you need the help, this is a powerful resource. And then look, you got people who have anonymity, and how you say it, babe? Anonymity. Yeah, I'm sorry, I always butcher words.
They're anonymous. They're able to anonymously
maintain their okay, there you go.
Their situations.
Right. So yeah, definitely go to this website. I think it's also a free website because it's a government website, but definitely check them out. Get the help. If you recognize you're in a domestic violence situation, definitely get the help. So I guess
I hope this show and having Rose on to directly pinpoint some of the warning signs and what domestic violence looks like from non-domestic violence situations. I hope all of those IDs give people more insight into being able to label their relationship and get the help that they need. Because it all starts with being able to identify before you get to a solution.
Yeah. You got to figure that you're in the situation. You got to realize that you're in a trap. And then now once you realize you're in a trap, then you work yourself out of it. So I guess we could just do final words,
Well, I definitely said my final words.
So Sheriff, you have anything you want to, closing remarks?
It was a good show. I don't really have any real final remarks. I think that Rose is very good in communicating what is necessary and the initiatives that she's about to take. I really am full support of. I think that's necessary for helping our community. So solution-based is also, not also, but it's what I'm always looking forward to when it comes to domestic violence. So thank you for having the show. It is a heavy show, but I appreciate it.
Yes, most definitely.
Thank you guys.
You're welcome.
All right.
So this is what the Mature Topics podcast is about. We will be having a lot more of these shows, deep shows, heavy shows, connecting with advocates and experts, people with actual experience in the things that we're talking about, so we can get the best insight. I don't think that Rose's insight could have been duplicated by any of us on the panel, or whoever normally comes on the show, or whoever would have came on the show tonight, who doesn't have a similar backdrop to what Rose has. Once again, that domestic violence hotline, the National Domestic Violence Hotline, is something that you could go get help at. And if you're a family member, because I'm pretty sure this would be a lot more of the people checking the show out, are people who know someone that's going through this. I hope you learned by listening to this podcast how to be of a support. Don't force your views onto the victims. Allow them to go through their process. Show them something different, and let them know that you'll be there for them in the event that they're ready to make that move. And just have these conversations. I think one of the powerful things Rose said too was speak out. So as a community, we have to let our voices be heard. Like I said, that Tupac those lyrics definitely meant a lot. And when I heard it, and it always stuck with me, like, why do we ignore this in our community when it's plaguing our community? So that we need to have more conversations, and definitely take the time, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll be back again next Thursday with a cool topic. And until next time, stay blessed. Have a great night.
Good night.